Culture isn't what you say, it's what you do consistently over time. As a leader, your behaviors and messaging shape the culture of your team, your family, and your organizations. There's an exact equation for changing cultures, though. And today, I'm going to walk you through that equation so you can improve the culture through a unified message and action.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in the Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
Culture is the sum of behaviors, not words or intentions. There's a lot of great companies out there that show their values and culture through their actions. Let's look to Apple for one of these examples. Now, Apple exemplifies its core values through deliberate and consistent actions across various facets of its organization. Apple is synonymous with innovation, consistently pushing the boundaries of technology, and they create products that redefine categories. Now, that commitment is evident in groundbreaking products like the iPhone, iPad, MacBook, all of these which have set new standards in the tech industry. Another thing that it's part of their culture is environmental responsibility. Now, Apple demonstrates its dedication to its environmental sustainability through several initiatives. Renewable energy usage. The company powers its global facilities with 100% renewable energy, including their offices, retail stores, and data centers. They're heavily into product recycling programs. They have, programs like the Trade-In Initiative, where they encourage customers to return used products for recycling or refurbishment. And they reduce electronic waste through this. Sustainable materials. It goes on and on and on. They're also really big in their culture about privacy and security. So Apple places a huge priority on user privacy and on data security. So they have data protection, right? The company designs its products and services with robust encryption and privacy features. They have transparent policies. I remember, my wife talking quite a few times, about how Apple refuses to give the government information and different things that the government asks for. Right, wrong, or indifferent, they uphold their culture through their actions. And it doesn't stop there. They have, social responsibilities big to them, philanthropy, supplier responsibility. All this stuff is part of their culture. And they continue to support their culture through their actions. So really, to sum all this up, right? Whether intentional or not, your actions set the tone for what's acceptable and expected. It's up to you as the leader. Now, let's look at the negative side of that for a minute. Imagine that you're the VP of safety and you're taking a tour of a plant and they require steel-toed shoes in this plant. You were part of the team that helped establish the rules. All right. So just setting the stage here. But you're going in on a periodic visit. You meet up with the plant manager and you go to take a walk out on the floor. And you go out there with your penny loafers on. What kind of culture are you supporting? Remember earlier I said that there's an equation to build or improve culture? Are you ready? Because here it is. I want you to take out a pen and a piece of paper, notepad or whatever for this one, and I'll give you a second. All right, are you ready? So here it is. Culture equals consistent behaviors over time. All right. Culture equal sign consistent behavior divided by time. Now, if I was to go a little bit further into this equation, I would say that you could break up the consistent behaviors as well. And I would simply say that consistent behaviors equals leadership message plus leadership actions plus leadership follow up. And that would equal consistent behaviors. So, what do I mean with all this? What does this equation mean? Well, simply, leaders go first. All right, it starts off with a consistent message. I say consistent message because it needs to be on repeat. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be the same every time. Then it has to be followed by action, consistent action from the leader. If the leader doesn't play by the rules, then no one else is going to play by the rules. Come on now. And then you need to follow up with the message. And overall, this will start to change the behaviors. When the behaviors are consistent enough, when they're consistent for a length of time, when they become second nature, congratulations. Those behaviors have become habit. And guess what? Habit is the culture that you're looking for. For example, I want to tell you about the company that I work for. And really specifically, one of the main culture pieces of this company is action, being action oriented. All right, so I want to tell you about the person who started this culture. I admire this guy a lot. I'm not trying to suck up to him right now. I just want to let you know I do admire this guy because he knows culture. He understands culture and he knows how to change it. So, anyways, this person, just to kind of give you a little quick rundown, he started through a consistent message, right? This message of being action oriented. He stated it up front when he took over. He stated it through expectations, and he consistently reminds us. He reminds us all that we need to be action based and not just sit there and talk. We don't just report things, we change things. So every meeting that he holds, it's not over until there's an action owner and timeline established for the different things that we talk about. So I mention this because he holds himself to the same standard. That was bullet point number 2. And then he follows up to make sure that we stay consistent with our behaviors through the process. We stay consistent through tools that have been built and his actions of following up himself. Now, our behaviors over time, that's what changed the culture. That's what changed the culture of this company from going from what I would consider somewhat stagnant to now driving serious change in this company. The face of the company has changed dramatically in the last, I don't know, 4 years. And profitability has changed as well. It's gotten much better in a very short amount of time. It's been amazing to watch. I love watching people when they successfully change cultures. Good, bad, you don't agree with it, I don't care, right? The process is what I'm talking about. You don't always have to agree with the outcome, but take a look at the process and emulate that process for what you want to see in your culture. I want to dive into the consistent message for a minute as well. When I said consistent message, I also want to stress that the message needs to be a clear and concise message. I've talked about this a couple times on the podcast, but I want to go into it again. People look to leaders for clarity. When we are clear and concise with our messaging, people can execute on it a lot easier. When it's clear and concise, it's easier to repeat. When people hear it consistently and frequently, when we repeat it, it turns into a shared belief. It's my pleasure. That's one of Chick-fil-A's responses. It's the only Chick-fil-A response to customer service. It's one of the clearest and most concise messages out there today. When I go to Chick-fil-A, I am always amazed by the way that these employees seem to love. They absolutely love serving us, their customer. But if you think about it, it's my pleasure. It really is their pleasure to serve you because they say it so much. It's so consistent. It's so clear and concise that it's become a core belief. Another thing I want to break down a little bit more is that there will be opposition to the changes. People don't always like change. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try to be clear and concise, sometimes there's going to be those people that just don't get it. And sometimes this is simply just bias. Make sure that if you become aware of someone that doesn't seem to be getting it, make sure you have a one-on-one with them so that you can determine if it's a lack of understanding or if they're just simply opposing. But how you deal with both of these items is very critical. Now, lack of follow through is another real thing. This comes back to having consistent follow through with your people and the change. I suggest that when you're making a change, that you also change your metrics that are being discussed. Measure the behaviors that you desire. And then another pitfall is sometimes I can get impatient with results. When I don't see things moving at the speed or in the manner that I believe that it should, I get frustrated. I believe that it should be easier than what it actually is, or whatever the case is. And in these situations, I would suggest that you ask questions and look at leading indicators. Guys, I want you all to remember something too. That culture is a long game, a process. It's not a quick fix. Culture's like planting a tree, really. It needs consistent care. It needs that care over time to grow strong and to provide the shade that you need. I want you to stay committed even when the results take time to manifest. Another little hint is you can't change it all in one sitting. All right? Pick something to start the ball rolling. Once the ball's rolling and you're picking up progress on one thing, pick up the next thing and continue to do that until the culture's where you want to have it. I'm going to leave you guys with this call to action. I want you to go craft your clear, consistent message. What values and behaviors are non negotiable in your culture? All right. Identify 2 to 3 behaviors that you need to model as a leader. I want you to set up reminders to ensure that you repeat your message and you align to your actions daily. I want you to commit to consistency for the long haul. All right. So, anyways, guys, culture, it starts with you. What you consistently say and what you consistently do is going to define the legacy you leave. Now, I want to hear what you guys think of this episode. I want you to share one behavior that you're going to focus on as a leader. I want to hear about the culture that you want to cultivate. All right, once again, leaders, I appreciate you tuning in. I want you to go out there and lead with purpose and passion, but don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and leave me a rating and review. Until next time.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the forge.